All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, we want to send all of you our thank yous for your tremendous support. Again, people are slowly finding out about who we are and what we do. They respect the passion with which we speak. As we stated before, we do this because we love it, and we are simply sharing our passions with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. Dallas Cowboys Week 4, a 36-28 victory at home against the Carolina Panthers. Let's jump into our statistics here. Quarterback Dak Prescott, 14 of 22 pass attempts, only 188 yards, however, threw 4 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott with his best game in quite a while, 20 carries for 143 yards and 1 touchdown. Tony Pollard, 10 carries, 67 yards. Amari Cooper playing through a strained hamstring, 3 catches for 69 yards and 1 touchdown. Tight end Dalton Schultz, 6 catches for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. Cedric Wilson, 2 catches, 30 yards, 1 touchdown. Blake Jarwin, 1 catch for 18 yards and 1 touchdown. On the defensive side, Anthony Brown, 6 total tackles, 6 solo. Jaron Kearse, 6 total tackles, 5 solo, and 2 tackles for a loss. Leighton Vander Esch, 5 total tackles, 4 solo. Chauncey Golston, 5 total tackles, 3 solo, half a sack. Trayvon Diggs, this boy is the truth, y'all. 4 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 interceptions. Rookie sensation Micah Parsons, 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Damontae Kazee, 4 total tackles, 3 solo. Osa Odighizuwa, 3 total tackles, 2 solo, half a sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Randy Gregory, best game as a professional in quite a while, 3 total tackles, 2 solo, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for a loss. Another impressive performance by the Dallas Cowboys. Again, a bit of a tight first half in that game. Other than that, there's really nothing else to say. If you look at the defensive side, all the sacks that they've had, 5 sacks, very solid game, 2 interceptions. There was nothing else to say. I had some issues with some of the coaching decisions. It was a close game really into the first half. The Cowboys actually blew the game open in the third quarter by scoring 20 points in the third period to 0 to the Carolina Panthers. So, very thorough performance for a team that was 3-0. The last time the Dallas Cowboys had beaten the Carolina Panthers was October of 2012, and the reason why I remember that so clearly because I actually was at that game. That was my first time visiting Charlotte, North Carolina, because my oldest friend Al, brother, I hope you're listening, and I hope you keep on fighting, feeling better. So I have a lot of respect for Charlotte. It is a beautiful city, nice, beautiful stadium. At the time, Cam Newton was a quarterback. Cowboys won the game 19-14. So definitely went to Charlotte, had a great time that weekend in the city, went to the game, saw the game, had a great time. The next time the Cowboys played them was the year that the Carolina Panthers went to the Super Bowl, that 2015 season. Now, if you remember, second, third game of the season, Tony Romo gets injured, comes back. I visited Tampa in 2015. The very next game, Romo came back against the Miami Dolphins, which they were an under 500 team. They played the Carolina Panthers on Thanksgiving, and Tony Romo got hurt again and was out for the rest of the season. And that was the year the Carolina Panthers went to the Super Bowl. They played them in 2018, which was opening Sunday, and the Cowboys lost that game, and that was Connor Williams' his rookie year, which I didn't think he looked that good in that game. He's clearly made some strides since then. So yes, it's been a full 9 years since the Dallas Cowboys have beaten the Carolina Panthers. So definitely a well-needed victory. At 3-1, tied for the best records in the NFC so far. So ways to build upon this. Now, here's where, again, we look at the good and the bad. The good, they pounded the Carolina defense. The Panthers had some studs on defense. Zeke, ran well in the first half. The way they set up the run blocking, using Connor McGovern. I actually like that package when they use the offensive lineman Connor McGovern as a fullback to create holes. So that's a good thing. So clearly this guy is clearly versatile, playing offensive line, playing fullback, coming from Penn State. They run up there, so I was thoroughly impressed. In the second half, as I mentioned last week, while ahead in the game, especially against the Eagles, they were passing the ball. While I thought they closed the game out well by actually pounding the rock. And really, the Carolina Panthers really had no answer for the Cowboys' run game. So that's definitely winning in the trenches. The defensive line, they played well. Again, 5 sacks. And as commentator Greg Olsen had noted at the end of the first half, the Cowboys' defensive line was starting to hit home close to Sam Darnold, and you saw the second half, they definitely dominated the game. But we'd be remiss if we didn't speak about a couple of things that made us raise our eyebrows in this game, especially head coach Mike McCarthy. Again, these issues seem to be coming up with him. Now, last week, when they played the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody gave Mike McCarthy a lot of flack because he wasn't aggressive going into halftime. And I didn't have a problem with that. I thought the Cowboys clearly were in control of that game. Yes, they did get a bad call, which should have been a touchdown, but it was called back. I'm sorry. It should have been a touchdown. It was not called a touchdown. But even with that, the Cowboys clearly were in control of that game. So I didn't have a problem with that, especially the way that they ended up winning the game in such dominant fashion. So I really didn't get the flack that Mike McCarthy caught behind that. What I am going to question is why in a game that's close you're going for the 2-point conversion. And of course, you can say if the tight end would have got the ball over the goal line, it would have been a touchdown. And this is a really moot point. But I didn't get that. It's a close game. And going into the half, but not going for the 2-point conversion. And let me put things in a proper context. The reason why he went for the 2-point conversion, there was a penalty that moved the ball half the distance to the goal, which essentially took away, quote, the 2-yard needed to get the 2-point conversion. So he moved the ball on the 1-yard line. Maybe Mike McCarthy saw a way to really stick it to the Carolina Panthers. I didn't agree with that. Take the safe choice and play the safe game. So going into the half, the Cowboys had dominated. They were actually down 14-13, but not for that. Very ill-advised going for the 2-point conversion in a time we really didn't need it. Those are good for games in which you're behind. You miss a couple of field goals. I didn't think at that time was that 2-point conversion needed, or the 2-point conversion try was needed. Another thing, I have to give Mike McCarthy the side eye. I'm going to say in the third quarter, fourth quarter, when the Cowboys are trying to run the clock out, he decides to, on third down, I guess they give the ball to Zeke. He didn't get the first down. You send the offense back on the field for the 4th down attempt. Then you want a challenge. So why even go through all that to send him out there? It wasn't the best call. Clearly somebody should have sent a message to him. So I really didn't understand that, what he was doing. So there's something brewing in Dallas. It's just a few things we see from Mike McCarthy. We hope that he doesn't screw this thing up with some of his in-game coaching decisions. We just have to just call that out. I didn't understand, and one thing I did not like, them taking their foot off the gas pedal when they built a sizable lead, which the Carolina Panthers outscored the Cowboys 14-3. Now, they took out Trayvon Diggs, citing player rest or player management. What the hell that was, I don't know. But he cited player management, player rest, and I never understood that when the game really wasn't quite over yet, because the Carolina Panthers, they hadn't called the dogs off. They were still going up and down the field. So even though that final score, as you heard earlier, was 36-28, the game really was a blowout. The Cowboys took the foot off the gas pedal, and I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what coach would allow that. We've seen games that teams have blown. We've seen historical games that teams have blown. So we're not going to do that. If the Carolina Panthers were to take their starters out, then you take your starters out. But if you're not going to do that, no, then we're not going to take the foot off the gas pedal. We're going to keep running up the score because we're not going to play around. You don't want to be part of history and blowing games. So I didn't agree with that. Again, I had to start with Mike McCarthy, and I hope he addresses that, to not just take your foot off the gas pedal. This is the NFL, no matter how you slice it, in teams, especially nowadays that offenses are much more explosive. You know, you have receivers that can score at will, quarterbacks that can make long throws, running backs that can, that can break open a long one. So this is not like that era of the 80s and the 90s where very rarely you saw teams making comebacks. You actually see this more frequently now. So I didn't agree with that. I didn't understand the thought process behind that, but they ended up winning the game anyway. So now we move on to the New York Giants, who came back and won against the New Orleans Saints, actually on the road. So again, another divisional game. Do not look past them. No matter what the record states, 3-1 versus 1-3, it is still a divisional opponent. As soon as they clear this game, let's start getting their minds right to play the New York Giants, to continue to play well against divisional opponents, to knock them down a peg, continue to build their record up, and keep building this momentum. This is not the time to get complacent. Keep doing their thing next week, and we'll be back next week for the review of the Cowboys against the New York Giants. Until the next time, it's Chin Check Radio signing out.